Welcome to Wheels Up with Sunrise on Wheels. I'm Michelle Newman. Today's program is all about London, England. And like all Wheels Up episodes, it has three segments. First, I'll take you on a trip around London to see some of my favorite spots. And we might even see Peppa the Pig or Harry Potter. Next, we'll craft with Caroline, learning how to make our very own Paddington Bear and a fun double-decker bus. Finally, I hope you'll shout out your answers and play along as we play London Trivia.
It's little wonder London, England is one of the world's top tourist destinations, attracting upward of 20 million visitors each year. Britain's capital is a vibrant city with so many fabulous things to see and do. From royal palaces to the People's Parliament, from museums and cathedrals to riding a giant Ferris wheel for breathtaking views over the River Thames. You could spend endless days exploring London's best sightseeing locations without ever running out of unique things to see and do. Today I want to take you on a trip to explore some of my favorite spots in London. Did you know this city has survived Viking attacks, major fires, bombing, battles, conquests, and sieges? It is full of great stories, colorful characters, and some really distinct turns of phrase. While they of course do speak English, it isn't quite the same English as we speak in the United States. Bloody is a word used quite freely, and it doesn't mean the horror show Red Blood version.
That was bloody brilliant.
It means it's very good. A little confusing, right? If you're coming in from the airport and someone says to shove the bag in a boot, it doesn't mean to kick it. The boot refers to the trunk of the car. And if someone recommends taking a lift, it doesn't mean you have to pick it up. The British call an elevator the lift. While we don't have time to explore all of their quirky slang, I do think it's important for you to know what the loo is. Do you know? It's what the British call the toilet. While most of these look just like we are used to, a spectacular restaurant in London called Sketch has some loos that are out of this world. Check out the groovy rainbow lighting, curved mirror, and futuristic egg pods for bathrooms. Besides some unusual English words, you'll also quickly notice that they drive on the other side of the road. So anytime we need to cross the street, we have to be careful. Thankfully, at most intersections, we can look down and it'll remind us which way we have to look. Other than watching for traffic, getting around London can be a really fun adventure. I love the open-top double-decker bus, and taking the tube, as it's called in London, which is the underground train or subway to those of us familiar in the United States. It's quite the experience. Most of the time you must wind yourself way down into the underground, but the maps and signs make it rather easy to know which train you should take, as long as you remember the name of your final destination. Remember to keep your ticket handy, as you need it for both entry and exit. So let's explore. First stop, the #1 toy store in the world, Hamleys. It has 7 fun-packed floors filled with toys, games, dolls, craft, and more. It's much more than just a shop, though. You'll find live demonstrations of the toys and games, and plenty of staff to answer questions. You might even meet a superhero or see a favorite cartoon character. And for over 40 years, they have been selling the lovable Paddington Bear. I adore Paddington Bear. Have you read any of his books or seen his movie? I just love this friendly bear with his old hat, battered suitcase, and duffel coat. Our next stop is Paddington Station, an underground and railway station. At Platform 1 is where this polite bear was discovered by the human Brown family after he arrived from the darkest Peru, and he was named after the station Paddington. There are a number of statues around London of this lovable bear. Of course, Paddington Bear isn't the only interesting character I anticipate running into when I'm in London. Whenever I'm walking the neighborhoods of London, I anticipate running into Mary Poppins. The Banks family home is said to be on Cherry Tree Lane, and while there is no Cherry Tree Lane in London, there are many streets that look like it. London is home to many beautiful parks, and whenever I'm biking or skipping around Regent Park, keep an eye out for Jane and Michael or Mary and Bert. It's also home to the London Zoo, where you can find many amazing animals and even visit the reptile house where part of the Harry Potter film was shot. No trip to London is complete without seeing Buckingham Palace. Nestled among the delightful foliage of Green Park, this magnificent palace is home to the Queen and invites visitors to experience the opulence and splendor that the United Kingdom is famous for. You can tell if the Queen is home when the Royal Standard flag is flown. If you see the Union Jack flag, you know the Queen is elsewhere. One of the special things to watch here is the changing of the guard. This marks the moment when the soldiers currently on duty, the Old Guard, exchange places with the New Guard. Accompanied by a full military band, the ceremony is quite a colorful tradition. There may be no more famous British character than the preschooler Peppa Pig. Have you seen the episode where the Queen offers to show Peppa's class around London? Let's take a ride with them to our next spot.
It's called Big Ben.
Actually, Big Ben is the bell, not the tower. That was loud!
The Houses of Parliament and Elizabeth Tower, commonly called Big Ben, are among London's most iconic landmarks and a must-see London attraction. Edmund the Elephant is right, of course, because Big Ben is technically the name given to the massive bell inside the clock tower, which weighs more than 13 tons. The clock tower looks spectacular at night when the 4 clock faces are illuminated. For the last few years, the tower is being redone, so there's scaffolding, but here I'm showing it to you in its spectacular earlier days. Now let's join the queue, the British word for standing in a line, to take an impressive bird's eye view of London. The London Eye is a giant Ferris wheel. It takes 30 minutes to go around, and the wheel moves very slowly. We'll ride in a completely enclosed glass pod with 25 people, and it offers a fantastic 360-degree view of Greater London. Next, we're off to the Tower of London. When William the Conqueror built a mighty stone tower at the center of his London fortress in the 1070s, Londoners must have looked on in awe. Now, nearly 1,000 years later, the tower still has the capacity to fascinate and horrify. As protector of the crown jewels, home of the yeoman warders and its legendary guardians, the pampered ravens, the tower now attracts over 3 million visitors a year. Here, the ceremony of the keys and other traditions live on, as do the ghost stories and terrible tales of torture and execution. But the tower also has a richer and more complex history, having been home to a wide array of medieval kings and queens who lived in luxurious apartments at the tower. They worshipped in the Chapel Royal, kept a menagerie of exotic animals, which lasted until the 19th century, and welcomed foreign rulers at magnificent ceremonial occasions. The yeoman warders, popularly known as beefeaters, are ceremonial guardians of the towers and are both greeters and guides for visitors. Henry VII's personal guards were the first beef-eaters, so named as they were permitted to eat as much beef as they wanted from the king's table. The beef-eaters are clearly recognizable in their uniform of dark blue with red trimmings, or on state occasions, red and gold uniforms. Kings and queens of England have stored crowns, robes, and other symbolic items used for over 600 years in the tower. These crown jewels have been used to crown kings and queens of England since 1661, and most recently in the coronation of Elizabeth II in 1953, when she became the Queen of England. One of the most famous legends of the tower surrounds the ravens. The story goes that should the ravens leave the tower, both it and the kingdom will fall. 7 ravens live at the tower today and are cared for by a dedicated yeoman warder known as the Raven Master. There are fascinating museums in London, and they're all free. I love the Natural History Museum, famous for its dinosaurs, animatronic raptors, and a terrifying, lifelike T-Rex. Besides the amazing dinosaurs, there are blue whales, saber-toothed tigers, elephants, volcanoes, meteors, earthquakes, and all sort of creepy crawlies. Another favorite of mine is the British Museum, filled with so many marvelous things. First, there's the Rosetta Stone, a stone slab fragment about the size of a large tombstone that was found by a French soldier in Egypt in 1799. It has a message carved into it, written in 3 languages, and it provided a very important clue that helped experts learn to read Egyptian hieroglyphics, a writing system that uses pictures as signs. Next are some astounding displays of ancient Egyptian mummies, coffins, and masks. A little spooky, but also cool. And we really must take a look at the Parthenon sculptures, also known as the Elgin marbles. No, they're not the round kind. It's a collection of stone sculptures and inscriptions from the Parthenon on the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. These came from a beautiful temple built 2,500 years ago dedicated to the goddess Athena. The temple was largely destroyed during a war between Venice and the Ottoman Empire and were acquired by Lord Elgin, the British ambassador. There's a lot of controversy over this, as Greece wants them to be returned. I have to say it is a little strange when you go to Athens to view the Parthenon ruins in the Acropolis Museum and realize that more than half the statues are copies because the originals are all in England. London is home to a lot of great theater. You can watch Shakespeare in the Globe Theatre, a replica of the original Elizabethan playhouse for which William Shakespeare wrote his plays, or watch the impressive Wicked at the large Apollo Theatre on the West End. But also keep an eye out for some really amazing street acts. I love going to Covent Garden, which is home to a lot of entertaining acts, along with some really cool shops. For our last and final stop, I want us to explore London with an eye out for Harry Potter. If you haven't read the books, I highly recommend them. 20 miles outside of London, we can visit the studios where most of the Harry Potter movies were filmed, serving as the backdrop to some of the film series' most iconic scenes, such as the Yule Ball and the Battle of Hogwarts. The Great Hall is simply spectacular. Can't you just imagine the students from each Hogwarts house sitting here? And you can practice wand magic in the Forbidden Forest and check out thousands of props and costumes. We can even climb aboard a mock-up carriage of the Hogwarts Express locomotive, which we all know transported hundreds of students from platform 9 3/4 to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Diagon Alley is home to not only Gringotts Bank and Mr. Molepepper's Apothecary, but also the dusty Ollivander's wand shop, where Harry's wand famously chose him. The backlot is where you have the opportunity to enjoy a frothy butter beer, a non-alcoholic beverage reminiscent of shortbread and butterscotch. Yum! Here are my friends Ben and Caroline enjoying this delicious brew. But even if you can't make it out to the studio lots, there are definitely places in London that will remind you of Harry Potter. King's Cross Station is real, and they even have a sign for it at platform 9 3/4. Well, our trip around London has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed seeing a few of my favorite spots. Which one was your favorite?
Hi, my name is Caroline, and I'm so excited to do arts and crafts with you today. Today's video is all about London, and you might have seen me in the video because I actually got to visit London, and it's one of my favorite places. So today we're going to make 2 crafts that are London themed. One is the double-decker bus that's really fun to ride on that they have all over London. And we're also going to make Paddington Bear, which is a movie that takes place in London. I hope you have fun. For the Paddington Bear crafts, you will need a blue piece of paper, a red piece of paper, and a brown piece of paper. And you can use, I'm using a ruler to measure my paper, but you don't have to. I'll show you what size it should be, and it doesn't have to be exact, so you don't need a ruler, but I'm going to use one. Then you also need scissors, glue, and something to draw Paddington's face with, so I'm going to use a black marker, but you can also use a crayon or paint or something you can draw with. So first we're going to make Paddington's hat. So I'm gonna measure 4.5 by 7, but yours doesn't have to be exactly that if you're not using a ruler. It just has to be a rectangular shape. So I'm gonna cut this out, and then I'll show you what it should look like when you're done. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. And now we're gonna make his hat. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how to fold Paddington's hat. So first, you're gonna fold it in half this way, and then push it down. Then turn it so that the open part is here and the closed part is here, and fold it in half this way. Then open it back up, and now you're gonna fold a little triangle down this way, then another one on this side. And then you're gonna take one of these on the bottom and fold it up. Then flip it and do the other one. Then flip it again, and you can fold the top of this triangle back just a little bit. And now we have his hat. So now I'm gonna glue it just a little bit so that it stays together. So what you wanna glue is this bottom piece to the top. And then this part already came up for me. So I'm gonna glue this and then stick it back. Okay, so now we have his hat. So now we're gonna make Paddington's body. So it's gonna be 4 inches across and then 8.5 inches tall. I'm just gonna cut this out. And now, what you're gonna do is, we're gonna take your glue and put a little bit of glue on the end of your rectangle. And then we're gonna roll it. So you can roll it once, and then you're gonna just press one side so that it stays together. And then you can press it just a little bit, but you want it to have it so that it can stand up. So now we're gonna glue on Paddington's hat onto his body. So you're gonna take your glue stick and you can put your hat on the table, and we're gonna put some glue into here. So if you look at it on the back, you wanna glue it on the back side, not on the front. So put some glue on the inside, on the same side as the back, and then you can fit it over your body. So it shouldn't be glued in the front, but it should be glued in the back. So now we're gonna make Paddington Bear's face. So I'm gonna use a black marker. And first, so we're gonna do it on the side where the hat is flat on top. First, we're gonna draw 2 little eyes, and make sure to do it high up because we're gonna put his jacket on later. So, his 2 little eyes. Then, we're gonna draw his nose, like that, and then his mouth, just like this. Okay, so now we're gonna make Paddington Bear's jacket. So, to measure it, you're gonna take your Paddington Bear and put it on top of your blue paper, but we're not gonna put it all the way because we don't want our jacket to be like this. We only want it to be up to about here. So you could put your paper like that. Then you could draw a line at the bottom and then on the side. Now I'm gonna cut this out. And now we're gonna draw a little V, then like this, then like that. Okay, now, because we want to make 2 sides of his jacket, we're gonna fold it in half this way so that it ends right about there, so you only see one side. And now I'm gonna cut like this, then like that. Now we have both sides of his jacket, and they're gonna go like that. So I'm gonna glue those on. Now we're gonna make his buckles. So I had this little brown piece of scrap paper, and you can do the same thing. And we're just gonna cut 2 little strips, just like that, and then again. And then we're gonna glue these on to the jacket. Like that. And you can even make your Paddington Bear stand up, like this. So for the double-decker bus craft, you will need red, white, and black pieces of paper, scissors, glue, and something to draw with, so either markers or crayons. So for the double-decker bus, we're gonna use our whole sheet of paper, except we want the tops to be a little bit rounded. So you can fold your paper in half, but don't press down all the way because we don't want to crease. But we're gonna cut on this side, on the open side, we're gonna cut a little rounded piece, just like that. Then you can open it back up, and now this is gonna be our bus. So now we're gonna make the windows. So you can use your black piece of paper and cut a strip. And now we're gonna make 4 windows for the top. So we want them to be about that big. So those are gonna go just like this on the top. Now we're gonna make 3 for the bottom. And then for the last one, we're gonna cut a bigger one, just like that, a little bit longer than the rest of them. So now it's gonna go like that. So now we're gonna glue all of these on, and make sure that when you glue them on that they're right underneath each other, because it's double decker, so you want them to be exactly in line with each other. Okay, so now I glued on all of my windows except for this one, because this is going to be the one with the driver in it. And what we're going to do is fold each of the sides into the middle so that it's going to look like a window. So once they're folded, you're going to glue on this side and then stick it down. So put some glue on the side that isn't folded. And then you can open it up a little so that it looks like a window. And now I'm gonna cut a little white square with my white paper. And this is gonna be the driver's seat. So it should be smaller than the square, about this size. So now it's like this. So now I'm gonna draw the driver. So first I'm gonna draw the seat. So it's like an L shape. Then I'm gonna draw the driver's head. And its eye and the smile. Then I'm gonna draw the driver's hand that's gonna be driving the steering wheel. And now I'm gonna draw the steering wheel. So it's gonna be a big circle. Then it's gonna have some lines. So I'm gonna draw a dot in the middle and then some lines coming out of it. Just like that. Now I'm taking a scrap piece of paper, a black piece of paper that I used before, and I'm gonna fold it in half so that I can make 2 wheels at the same time. And now I'm gonna cut out a circle. Okay, so now I have both of my circles, and now I'm gonna glue them on to my bus, and I want them to stick off of the bus so that it looks like they're coming off and it makes it more 3D, and also it needs to drive. It needs to touch the ground. So now my bus is all done. You guys can also write something on your bus, like London or whatever else you want to write on it, or you could draw designs on it too. As you can see, I made a few buses and Paddingtons, and you could do the same thing. I hope you had fun doing these crafts with me. Bye!
Welcome to London Trivia. There are 10 questions with 4 answers, only one of which is correct. Who's ready to play? Question number 1. What is a loo in London? Is it A, a bird, B, a toilet, C, a zoo, or D, a funny act? Which is a loo in London? Do you know? And the answer is it's a toilet. Question number 2. What is the name of the big Ferris wheel in London? Is it A, London Flight, B, Ring Around the Rosie, C, London Eye, or D, Tower of London? It is a pretty cool and fun Ferris wheel. It's not scary at all. And the answer is C, London Eye. Question number 3. Egyptians used a pictorial writing known as hieroglyphs. Which item, now in the British Museum, was helpful to scholars in understanding it? Was it A, the Blarney Stone, B, the Talking Stone, C, the Rosetta Stone, or D, the Tombstone? Answers, please. And the answer is the Rosetta Stone. Question number 4. What is the name of the replica of the theater where Shakespeare's plays were performed? Was it A, the Apollo Theater, B, Midsummer's Night, C, the Globe, or D, Puck's Place? This one could be tricky. And the answer is the Globe. Question number 5. What is the name of Queen Elizabeth's London's residence? Is it A, the Palace of Versailles, B, Buckingham Palace, C, Hyde Park, or D, White Castle? I think one of those is a hamburger place. Anyway, do you know? And the answers, please. And the answer is Buckingham Palace. Question number 6. What is the name of the subway system in London? Is it A, Hogwarts Express? Is it B, Double Decker? Is it C, the Underground or the Tube? Or D, Oyster Card? This one you probably know, and the answer is C, the Underground or Tube. Question number 7. What name are the yeoman warders also known as? A, cake eaters, B, beef eaters, C, burger eaters, or D, raven keepers? Well, this one might be tricky, and the answer is B, beef eaters. Question number 8. What does Big Ben refer to? A, a toy bear at Hamley's, B, the bell in Elizabeth Tower, C, the zoo in Regent Park, or D, the T-Rex at the Museum of Natural History? What is Big Ben? And the answer is B, the bell in Elizabeth Tower. Question number 9. Where would you find platform 9 3/4? A, King Cross's station, B, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft, C, Harrods, or D, Diagon Alley? Where would you find platform 9 3/4? You know, this is from Harry Potter. It's one of my favorite books. And the answer is A, King's Cross Station. And our last and final question, question number 10. How do you know if the Queen is home? A, the gates are locked. B, there's a red carpet in front of the palace. C, the guards are dressed in red. Or D, the royal standard flag is flown at the royal residence. Which do you think it could be? And the answer is D, royal standard flag is flown at the royal residence. Well, I hope you enjoyed and played along with our London trivia. See you next time.